Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and today's video is my first in a three-part series all about visiting the Disneyland parks. Now, the reason why I decided to do this series, two reasons mainly. One, it's late May, summer's coming, family trips are being planned, and for the vast majority of people in the western half of the United States, that usually means a trip to Disneyland. Or at least the goal of a trip to Disneyland. My second reason is that Star Wars Galaxies Edge opens up at Disneyland at the end of the month on the 31st. And that means it's going to be crazy at the parks. Anytime there's a new attraction opening up, a new ride, a new land, or even like special events like say leap year, the park goes crazy with tourists. So I thought I would share some information on you. Today's video is going to be all about surviving Disneyland with younger kids. My second in the series will be a budgetary video, and then my last one will be just general tips and tricks and just general info for you to have. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump in and share with you a little bit about surviving Disney, both Disneyland and California Adventure, with small kids. Okay, my first tip. It's kind of a basic one. It's probably the one to most easily kind of roll your eyes about, like duh. But it is to set realistic expectations. This one I feel like you'll have to pardon both of my children you just heard. Anyhow, but this one it really is, yes, it's a basic one. Yes, it's kind of like duh, common sense. But it's the one that can be easiest to kind of forget about, especially when you get into the park and there's just like this overload and you kind of maybe feel pressured to see and do and experience all of these things. You know, there's this huge pressure sometimes to experience, do, see all that Disneyland and California Adventure have to offer, and believe me, there is a lot of it. And I think this is probably more of a pressure point when you're only visiting for a short period of time. Maybe you're from out of state or even out of the country and you only have 1 or 2 days at the park and you want to just like jam it in. You know, it's not realistic, especially with young kids. But even like I've been an annual pass holder with just me and my husband and no kids. And I've been going to Disneyland since I was a child. I still haven't seen everything there is to offer. There's just so much. The parks are ever evolving, so you're just not going to see it all. So if you if you kind of keep that in mind when you're planning your trip, you're going to be on a better footing right there. Another reason why you want to set realistic expectations is if you have smaller children, or even you yourself, you guys are going to get tired. Your kids are going to get tired, and when people get tired, they tend to get cranky. And you don't want that ruining your trip, especially if you've been planning it, you've been looking forward to it. You don't want cranky pants to kind of come in and ruin everything. So with that being said, it's so important to pace yourself correctly and to take breaks. You can still see a lot of really cool stuff while taking breaks with your kids. You can see a parade. You can either find a spot on Main Street. A great way to see a parade is to find a place to eat or snack on Main Street, and you'll be able to see the parades just fine, and your kids will be entertained while you eat. So definitely, again, set realistic expectations. Don't pressure yourself. It's my best advice for having an enjoyable experience at the parks. My next tip is to pack smart for the parks. Disneyland is in Anaheim, California, which is in Orange County, Southern California. It's warm most of the year. It does get cold, in the, I would say like around November, December, it's gonna get cool. And then at night, it will definitely be chilly. And then, January and February, obviously it's gonna be a lot colder. You're gonna need a jacket and things like that. But for the vast majority of the time, March through October during the day is beautiful at the parks. So you don't need a whole lot of layers. But you definitely want to pack jackets for the evening time if you're going to be staying late into the park, because it will get chilly once the marine layer kind of comes inland. Really bring water bottles, refillable water bottles, Definitely bring some snacks if you are on a budget. Fire truck. And always bring a change of clothes if you have little ones. Spills happen, accidents happen, diaper blowouts happen, and you just want to be able to change your kiddo as easily as possible. My next tip is know that a lot of rules have changed when it comes to entering the park, especially because of Galaxies Edge. This is especially true about kiddo transportation, namely strollers and wagons. First off, wagons are no longer allowed in the park. You know, you often see in amusement parks like a dad pulling around a couple of kids in a wagon. It's got like the shade and stuff, and it seems like a great idea. They have a little bit more wiggle room. But unfortunately, due to more than likely insane crowds during the summer season this year, wagons are no longer allowed. And then there's also new restrictions when it comes to stroller size. You can't have it higher than 31 inches or 79 centimeters, and then no more than 52 inches or 132 centimeters in length. Those won't be allowed if they're any bigger than that. So definitely, if you have a stroller that's on the larger size, measure it to make sure that it meets with Disneyland's new standard. Now, to be honest, I don't know how strictly they're going to enforce it, but I have to assume that they're going to enforce it pretty, what's the word I'm looking for? Pretty stringently, just because, yeah, the crowds are going to be crazy. But you do want to bring a stroller when you have kiddos. Honestly, if you have a kiddo 7 and under and you have a stroller for them, as self-conscious as you might feel, bring one anyway. They're going to get tired, or you're going to get tired of lugging your junk. Even if you just park it in stroller parking and put like your backpack. Security at Disneyland is really, really great, and I don't recommend you leaving like your valuables like a purse or anything in the stroller. But if it's just like clothes and snacks and stuff, go ahead and leave it there. I've done it. Nobody's ever bothered my things. And it just comes in handy when you have a little one who wants to take a nap, especially if you're going through like a really large crowd, like after a parade gets out. It's hard for a little one to navigate all of those people. You know, you can see a little bit better. They're just staring at everybody's bottoms, which A, can't be fun, and B, can be a little bit disorienting for them. So putting them in the stroller is a lot easier. So definitely consider that. If you have a baby, definitely bring an infant carrier if you have it. Yes, you can put them in the stroller, but eventually that baby's going to want to be held. You might have, you know, a bunch of bags, or you might be waiting in line trying to take care of your other kiddos. So if you have a carrier to put your infant in, definitely bring it. Just make sure you bring them like a hat or shade or something to protect them from the sun. My next tip is to know your children's height ahead of time. And there are plenty of rides that have height restrictions. A couple off the top are like Space Mountain and even Indiana Jones, which isn't really a roller coaster. It's super bumpy, and you know, it's just a belt across the lap. You want to be able to make sure that your kid can get on there, and sometimes, especially Indiana Jones, things can get really crowded around a ride, and it's hard to get to the height measurement. So if you know ahead of time and you're at a distance and you can see the height requirement, you already know, oh, yes, my little one can get on, or no, we're just going to skip it, they're too short. So definitely know your baby's height ahead of time. My next tip is specifically geared more toward Disneyland, and that is to utilize the baby center. Now, one thing you have to realize about the parks, Disneyland specifically, it's an old park built kind of before family restrooms were a thing. All of the bathrooms are going to have the baby changing table, but the bathrooms can get really, really super crowded. Your little one might be in that stage where they're a little bit self-conscious about being changed in front of a big crowd of people. And it's just a little bit quieter and a little bit less stressful for you. And the baby center is found on Main Street. Any cast member is going to be able to direct you to the baby center, but definitely consider that when changing in the park. It'll just make things a little bit easier for you. I believe, it's been a while since I've been in there, but I believe they have a place to nurse as well. So definitely check that out if you have a little one that is still in diapers. My next tip is to know kid-friendly rides. And by kid friendly, I mean little kid. And for you, you know your children best. Maybe you have a really adventurous little one who's going to get on everything. Maybe you have one who isn't into like loud noises or hates, you know, bumpiness. So definitely know like some standards when it comes to very young children appropriate rides. And for Disneyland, my personal recommendations are going to be like the Jungle Cruise. Lots of fun. There is going to be some noise and like some splashing sounds and stuff like that, but it's a very steady boat ride, very kid friendly. The Disneyland Railroad is a great option for small children. It's a great option if you just need like a break away from the crowds and just want to sit on a longer ride. It basically circles the entire park, and the cool thing about that is it takes you into some of the rides, like it'll take you into Splash Mountain. You can see things that isn't readily visible for the average Disney goer, so definitely consider that. And then there is the grand dame of kid-friendly rides at Disneyland, and that is A Small World. I have never known a kid who did not like this ride. It is pretty long, relatively speaking. You know, some rides are over in a couple of seconds. This one is a couple of minutes long. The wait time can be a little bit much, and it is pretty much all in sunshine, so be aware of that. But once you get in, it's in shade, it's in air conditioning, it's long, and kids love to see all the little animatronics going off, so definitely consider that one. For California Adventure, my kid-friendly picks are Heimlich's Choo Choo Train, and that is in a Bugs Land, and it is a very short ride, but it is the wait is mostly in shade. It is outdoors, but it's mostly in shade. It's very slow, it's very quiet. It features a lot of cute imagery, and your kids will love it. They will especially love when they can smell the cookies. Monsters Inc. is also a great option. That is in Hollywoodland, I want to say. Yeah, it's in Hollywoodland. Yeah. It's in Hollywoodland. It is just kind of like a seated ride. You're in a little cabin. You're taken around Monstropolis. It is a little bit noisy. There's some flashing lights and kind of some excitement, but for most kids, they aren't going to have a problem with it. And these are familiar characters, so they're going to love that one. And then if you need a little bit of a break from the park madness or rides, consider Disney Junior Live. Kids love it. They get to see a lot of their favorite characters. That one is also in Hollywoodland, so definitely check that one out as well. Okay guys, just a few quick reminders before I finish off. The stroller requirement size-wise has changed at Disneyland. Keep that in mind. Keep it in mind again that wagons are no longer allowed. And definitely keep in mind Star Wars Galaxy Edge opening up May 31st. Now, one quick little bit of info about that. It opens May 31st, but from May 31st through June 23rd, I'm consulting my notes, sorry, reservations are required to see Galaxy's Edge. So those are going to sell out like hotcakes. Stuff like that always does. So definitely keep that in mind. And please know that after the 23rd, when reservations are no longer required, that's probably when park attendance is going to just explode. So definitely keep in mind that when planning your trip and when entering the parks. Disney magic is real. It just is, especially for your little ones. I wanted to just relate a little bit of story time. If you've never been to the Disney parks, the cast members are always so awesome. I've never had anything but positive experiences with them. Like I said, I've pretty much been going all my life. And my favorite memory with a cast member involves my nephew. He's 15 now, but years ago when he was 6, I wanted to take him for his birthday. And we actually took him on his birthday. And, you know, we got him his birthday button on Main Street. And it had his name on it. And every single cast member who walked by him wished him a happy birthday. And he was walking around like he was 10 feet tall. But I remember him looking at me and he's like, Annie, how do they all know my birthday? I'm like, oh, honey, it's your button. He's like, oh, okay. But my favorite memory, and this is one of my favorite memories, period, is we were in the Mad Hatter picking out some ears for him. And a cast member came up, it was a young lady, and she bent down to his level, and she's like, "Hey Jack, come here. There's somebody who wants to talk to you. You have a phone call." And he looked confused. He's like, "What? Me? Phone call here?" And I had no idea what was going on. But there was a little phone, kind of at kid level, and she picked it up and she dialed a number. And, you know, he's listening for a second, and then I just see his face light up like a Christmas tree. And it was Mickey Mouse calling to wish him a happy birthday. And I can tear up thinking about it. I really can. Just, it was such a precious moment. And I mean, she didn't need to do that. We were minding our own business, looking at ears. You know, we didn't even know that that was something that people did at the parks, but she went out of her way to make him feel special on his birthday, and I will never forget that. And I'm not saying that everybody's gonna have an experience like that when they go to Disney, but more often than not, you're gonna have a great time. So definitely keep that in mind. The magic is real. The parks are great. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, a wonderful summer, a wonderful time at the Magic Kingdom or California Adventure if you guys are going this year. And I will see you in the next video all about saving money at the parks. Stay tuned.